Hello, welcome to a video in which I will be reviewing the new Goss Luxury Cream Foundation. This is a new product that launched just a few weeks ago. I've been putting it to the test for 2 weeks and I've also got the puff, so I will talk about that as well. I will be talking a little bit about my skincare philosophy behind it, how I prepare my own skin. I will give you details about that. I will give you really close-ups on how I apply this foundation, how it looks like on the skin, whether it works well with other products or not. I will also be discussing the ingredients because I've noticed some discussions online about whether this foundation is comedogenic, so pore clogging or not. So we will be talking about that as well. I will also do a wear test and tell you how this foundation wore because I did put it to the test for 2 weeks, so I have notes for every single day. I also have footage and I will give you my overall thoughts about the product. So there's a lot to discuss about, so I think it's going to be a long one, so please make sure you grab a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, you sit back, relax and enjoy this video. My name is Irina and I'm the owner of the blog Lipstick Cafe, a blog all about beauty and cosmetics. So if you're into beauty related content, then please make sure you subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell because I don't have a pattern to my future content, so make sure you do that to be notified. I want to talk to you a little bit about why I purchased this foundation. I know who Wayne Goss is. I know he is sharing his knowledge regarding makeup with all of us. I've certainly watched some of his videos throughout time, but what I'm trying to say is that I did not purchase the foundation just because it's from Wayne Goss. I have very particular reasons why I wanted to get my hands on this foundation, so I guess it's also a way of you to find out a little bit about the product. So first of all is supposed adjustability. So the fact that it can look glowy, satin-like, natural-like, the fact that it can have sheer coverage, medium coverage, full coverage, but most of all, why I really wanted this product was because it's a 2-in-1, so it can be a foundation and a concealer. It's pretty common on the market that even if you purchase the exact same concealer shade as the foundation from the exact same brand, it's still not a perfect match. And I'm a huge fan of pinpoint concealing, of just using concealer on just the areas and acne marks and and just very tiny spots so that I don't need a full coverage on my face. So I was super excited about a product like that could be used and has multi-purposes. You could also use it to bronze your skin, to highlight the skin. So I was very excited and intrigued about that. And of course, because it's a cream formula, I do have dry skin, so I was really excited to have something that emollient and creamy on my skin. All in all, those were the unique claims that I thought were excellent about the product, which is why I wanted to buy it. Now, I know that the claims of the foundation are supposed to be blurring and smoothing of the skin, but I hear that all the time from brands. So when Wayne mentioned it in this video, I wasn't particularly believing it, but we will see very soon in this video if those claims are true or not. I want to quickly show you the experience of buying this foundation. So you can buy this from beautylish.com and it comes from the States. So I did pay $10 in tax to have these products delivered to me in the UK. And it comes in a simple cardboard box. You open it and you have a hand signed signature of the person that packed this order. So I thought that was pretty luxury and pretty cute, pretty interesting actually, and it definitely looked prettier than what it looks like now. I did fake repackage it to show you how it arrives, but it was pretty neatly packaged, so I really like that. And then you open it up and again, as I said, it was packaged more neatly than this. This is reminding me of by Terry Cosmetics orders and other high-end / luxury makeup that you order online, so pretty good job. You definitely get an experience when you order it, and I did get a sample, so I'm super excited about that. I always love samples, so I thought that was pretty cute. I did not expect that. And then the puff comes in this black pouch. It's very good to carry around the puff if you need it to touch up throughout the day. And then the foundation comes in this black beautiful box, which I think looks really, really good. As you open the box, it's a beautiful packaging with a matte plastic as a base. The front of the foundation acts as a magnifying mirror. You can definitely use it to check any super tiny imperfections that your skin might have, or you could even use it to apply the foundation. Why not? I thought it was a really interesting touch, a really good one actually. I think this is a pretty standard high-end packaging, pretty gorgeous. It has the label at the bottom and it's just a beautiful presentation. So this is me with no makeup on my complexion. I do have lipstick on and eye makeup on, but I have nothing on my skin other than my skincare, and I wanted you to be able to see my skin while I tell you a little bit about my skin type. So my skin is dry and dehydrated. My skin is really, really thirsty for nourishment and moisturization in the morning when I wake up after I have a shower. It's very dry, and I think part of that has to do with the Scottish weather, which is very aggressive on your skin. It's very humid, it's very cold, the wind is really, really strong. I mean, I'm not sure if you can hear it in this video just now. I spend my time in between a very, very dry room with about 30% humidity and a humid space with about 80% humidity. Weather can be hot, cold, windy, you know, all elements at once, so it's definitely a pretty aggressive weather on my skin. I do have fine lines. The most prominent ones are on my forehead and my 11s because I have the tendency to frown a lot. I have a lot of expression lines under my eye area, which usually makes pretty much all the makeup I apply to just kind of collect there a little bit, so I always have to reblend it and dab it throughout the day. Around my mouth area, my skin is very, very dry with rough patches. It's a very textured skin with a lot of redness. I do have rosacea as well, and I have acne, so it's a very delicate acne. I can't even compare it to what it used to be like years and years ago, but I still have a very reactive skin with a lot of small pustules and pimples. So overall, it's a pretty tough, sensitive and dry skin. So during these 2 weeks I put the foundation to the test. I did have time to find the perfect base for this foundation, and I really cannot overemphasize enough the importance of a really good skincare before you try out the foundation. With something like a foundation, I do find that I usually have to tweak my skincare a little bit to suit that certain foundation, and it does take me a couple of days usually to understand what my skin needs under that specific foundation. And I know we do have the tendency to believe that foundation is magic and will erase all the texture and all imperfections on our skin, but it doesn't work like that. A foundation works in very tight conjunction with our skincare, so I change my skincare according to what foundation I'm using all the time. Certain foundations require a more nourishing, dewy base, other require a more mattifying base, so it really is about adjusting that skincare and really preparing the canvas for our foundation, and that is so important. And to tell you a bit of a story about this and to show you why this is so crucial. When I received the Goss Luxury Cream Foundation, I quickly removed my makeup and I just put on some cream on my face and I went straight into applying the foundation because I was so excited to try it. And I do have to say that I hated how it looked on my skin. It collected into my fine lines, it clung onto all my dry patches, and I really didn't like it. I thought, okay, so my skin was clearly not prepared enough, so I put an exfoliating mask the night before, and then in the morning I really prepared my skin much better, and the foundation looked a million miles away from how it looked when I quickly applied it as a first impression, sort of just to see what the product is like. So it's so important to find the right balance with our products and adjust our skincare routine to a foundation. I did have time to find the perfect base for my own skin with this foundation, so I will quickly tell you what I'm doing. So with this foundation, I really emphasize exfoliation on my skin. So at night, I use the Medicalia Retinol Smoothing Cream, and this contains retinol, which is helping with that cell turnover. It also contains glycolic acid, lactic acid, so that really helps to smoothen out my skin texture and kind of make it feel a bit smoother and get rid of those dry patches. And then in the morning, before I apply the foundation, this is what I found that works the best for me. I apply the Comfort Zone Sublime Skin Hydrating Essence, and this is just a really hydrating thin formula that absorbs into the skin, so I like to apply this before my other skincare. And then I go in with the Comfort Zone Remedy Serum, which is a very repairing, calming serum that usually gets rid of most of the redness I have, and it's hydrating as well. After that, I use the Medicalia Gentle Cream, and this is a cream that really absorbs into the skin, and it contains ceramides, phospholipids, green tea, chamomile to calm the skin, and it's a cream for dry, sensitive skin with rosacea, and I think most of these products are intended for that sort of skin type. So I like to generously apply this cream, and then I always wear sunscreen, and the sunscreen I really love with this foundation is the Beauty of Joseon, and it's a very nourishing sunscreen, again for dry, sensitive skin. It's supposed to repair it, to get rid of the redness. It has rice extract, it has good UVA, UVB protection, but it does leave a sheen onto the skin, a gentle glow. I do have all the skincare onto my skin just now. I'm not exactly sure how well the camera picks it up, but it's definitely more of a dewy base than a mattifying one. When I did try to use a more natural sunscreen rather than glossy and gluey, the foundation didn't wear as well as when I'm using this sunscreen. What I like to do is apply my skincare and then wait for about 20 minutes, even 30 if I have the time, and then apply the foundation. I find that in that way the foundation looks the best on my skin. Otherwise it kind of gets mixed with that very nourishing, greasy, glossy sort of base, and it makes it even more sheer and shiny. You know, when it comes to skincare, it's so crucial playing around with it with a foundation, because with skincare you can make a foundation look dewy or matter. You can change the coverage, you can have it with sheer coverage, you can help it to have more of a full coverage. So if you are buying a foundation and you don't love it to begin with, do give yourself a little bit of time to play around with different skincare items in your collection to kind of see if you can adjust that foundation to suit your skin in the best way. Before I zoom you in and apply the foundation, I do want to talk about the shade range of the Wayne Goss foundation, because this is a very disappointing part of this product in my opinion. I know that Wayne mentioned that he's completely self-funding this line, so he didn't afford to have more shades. He did come out with 12 shades, which I guess he tried to kind of cover sides of the spectrum, but my issue when it comes to this shade range is the undertones. So I don't really understand what is going on. I have really yellow warm undertones into my skin, and I find that getting that yellow warm undertone into my foundation shade is more important than having the exact shade of color. Of course, it's always the best to have a perfect match for your foundation, and I do have a very thorough article which will help you to find the best shade of the foundation. I will leave the link in the description down below, but that is really based on you trying the shades first, which obviously you cannot do when you order a foundation online. So I did try to get a shade that has that yellow warm undertones, but listen to this. So we have shade number 12, which is the lightest with neutral undertones, shade 11 with cool undertones, shade 10 with cool undertones, shade 9 neutral undertones, shade 8 warm undertones. So this is the 5th shade, starting from the lightest one, the first shade that has warm undertones, and that is the shade I had to order myself, suspecting that it will be too dark for my skin, but I really wanted that warm undertones, and I really don't understand why there's no fair shade with warm undertones. I think that's going to be a bummer for a lot of people. And then it's the same story if we look at the other end of the spectrum. So with the deepest shade, number 1, we have cool undertones. Number 2, neutral undertones. 3, cool undertones. 4, neutral undertones. 5, cool undertones. And 6, neutral warm undertones. So even shade number 6 is not fully warm, it just has neutral warm undertones. So pretty much the only foundation shade in this collection with warm undertones is shade number 8, which is the one I ordered. And I really don't understand that. Why? So I really do hope that in the future more shades with more undertones will be released. So this is shade number 8, the one I ordered. It's very dark for me, very orange, and you know, I don't think the camera will pick it up. I definitely noticed that when it comes to filming, a darker foundation looks better on film, so it's definitely taking a bit of work on my part to make this shade wearable on me, but I did push it for the purpose of this review. I did want to order shade number 12 as well, which is the fairest, but first of all it has neutral undertones, so not entirely sure about that one. But then it was sold out already by the time I went to order the foundation, which was just a few minutes after it launched, so I was quick. Right, so now I will actually apply the foundation after all that chatter. And to do that, I will use the Wayne Goss Smooth and Set, the Poreless Beauty Puff. I really wanted to order this application tool because I don't have anything like this in my collection. So I will be using the side of the puff that is smaller with the smaller fiber side, not the velour one. I will just like gently dip it into the foundation, and I already picked up quite a lot of product, so I will evenly distribute it around the center of my face. And I think you can already tell how horrible of a shade match this is for me. And then I will start to apply it on the skin in downward, smooth movement. So this is how the foundation looks like in a sheer layer. It's just giving me a very soft glow, a blurring effect, and you know, with the puff, although it achieves a smoothness and poreless effect, it does take a little bit of blending. Just keep in mind that this shade is really not matching my skin tone, so if you see color patches or if it just looks a bit off on my skin, that's why. It's definitely not the same as if it was a good shade match for me. And just because it doesn't match my skin at all, I will apply this onto my neck as well. This is not enough coverage for me, so I will keep going with the puff. Let's maximize this coverage. And I will start to apply it under my eyes as well. The more you press and buff with the puff, the more you will cover any large pores, any fine lines, and it's going to give you a really smoothless and poreless effect. What I love the most about this foundation is the fact that it doesn't overemphasize skin texture. It kind of smooths everything, it blends seamlessly, it melts like butter into the skin. I think like the puff is definitely taking a longer time, and especially because it's such a wrong shade for my own skin, I have to put some extra work into it, whereas I feel like if it's a good shade for yourself, you'll just be able to do a more seamless coverage with it. So you can tell that the coverage is really buildable. The first layer I applied was very sheer and very thin, whereas when I kept going and applying more and more and more, you can definitely tell that I achieved a pretty good coverage with it, whilst it's not really sitting in my pores, it's not overemphasizing texture, it doesn't really sit on my forehead lines. It's just a really beautiful product that lies itself so well onto the skin, and that's my favorite part about it. And the more you buff and blend, the more you are perfecting your skin. I mean, generally you wouldn't necessarily want to apply quite as much foundation as I did in this application video, but I wanted to show you from a sheer layer to how it looks like when you really build it up and you really work it into your skin to achieve a pretty good coverage, in my opinion. And now moving on into this part where I'm trying to use this foundation as a concealer, and we will see if that is possible. And I will apply it with my finger first under my eyes. As you can tell, it applies very, very smoothly and beautifully under the eye area. And now, because one of the main reasons I purchased this foundation was to have a 2-in-1 foundation and concealer, I will use the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Blend makeup brushes. This is number 15. If you want to see a full review of this tool, then I have a video up on my channel. But I will just use this to dip it into the foundation and try to use it for pinpoint concealing, just to see and show you if the foundation is capable of doing that. Now you can tell that because this is not the right shade for me, it's pretty hard to use it for pinpoint concealing. I will start to blend with my finger. Now with this foundation, I do find that even though I have dry skin, it's shiny enough from the moment of application that I like to use a little bit of powder with it. So I will move the puff around, and with the velour side, I will use some Hourglass ambient lighting powder and diffused light. This is definitely not a mattifying powder, it has a more of a luminous finish. And I like to use this powder just under my eyes a little bit and around my nose, just to kind of take a little bit of that shine away. When you do this, be very careful not to set any fine lines with the powder. Now that I've done that, and yes, I reapplied my lips. I applied some lipstick, but now that I've done that, you can really tell how that powder just created this beautiful satin looking finish around the center area of my face where I used powder, but it kept it quite dewy and luminous on the sides. So again, I have to re-emphasize this. Do keep in mind that this shade is very dark for my skin, so there's a chance it won't look as flattering as it could because of that. The first things you will notice though is how I can already see a few tiny creases under my eye area, and that is because to achieve enough coverage under the eye area with this foundation while having a dewy base, you need a lot of product, and of course the more product you use, the more prone you will be to creasing from expression lines. So I'm very happy to let you know that most of the color cosmetics I tried with the Wayne Goss foundation worked like a dream, whether they were liquid, creams, powders. Everything that I used from my collection seems to have blended really well with the foundation. I didn't encounter any particular issues with it. My forehead and my 11 area is usually a big problematic area for me, to the point where I can't apply some foundations there at all, and I just prefer to leave the forehead free of foundation. But look how beautiful and smooth the Wayne Goss foundation looks on my forehead. It's extremely smooth on the problem areas where you could have pores. It's just looking like a filter on my skin. It's just such a beautiful product that kind of doesn't really sit on the skin, even though I applied so much product. I mean, you've seen I went with layers and layers and layers. It's just looking really good. And I do want to tell you what other application techniques I've used with this foundation and whether they worked or if they didn't. So I've tried to apply it with fingers. I'm just looking down at my notes. And with fingers, it applies well, it blends seamlessly, it's very easy, fast, but it's definitely a greasier finish than with a puff. So you kind of blend all that emollients and, you know, you blend the cream into your skin in a certain way that the warmth of your fingers is just going to make it even more greasy looking. With the fingers, it smooths skin, but not nearly as good as with a puff, so you're kind of losing that soft focus filtered effect on the skin. I've also tried to apply this foundation with a brush, and with a brush, it works really nicely, but you're not achieving the same soft blurring effect that you get with a puff. So it applies more thinly than with a puff. With a brush, it blends really, really easily. It's very dewy, it's smooth, but the finish is just not the same. You kind of lose that soft focused finish again. I've tried to apply this foundation with a wet sponge as well, with a wet Real Technique sponge, and I think that's my second favorite way of applying this foundation, just because you could achieve part of that blurred, soft and smooth filtered effect, but with very, very little product. So you could use really thin layers, really beautiful, gorgeous looking skin with a bit of that soft focus finish. The wet sponge definitely provides more of a sheer coverage. You can apply it in lighter layers, but it will make it look even shinier than with a puff. So if you are trying to tone down the luminosity of this foundation, then you might not want to use a wet sponge. I mean, that's kind of known, you know, that sponges take away some of the texture but make your foundation looking a bit more dewy, so that's just something to keep in mind. I've also tried to apply this foundation with a more mattifying sunscreen just to see if it would look just as shiny and greasy as with my more hydrating dewy sunscreen. It didn't look throughout the day as good as with my normal dewy sunscreen. So yeah, it's just kind of a bit of trial to see what works and what doesn't. But generally speaking, this product is very, very easily to blend in any shape or form that you are trying to apply it with. The only difference is that that beautiful filtered effect that I think is the most unique quality about this foundation is kind of lost unless you use the puff that comes with it. Well, you have to buy it separately, but it is from Wayne Goss as well. I have footage that I will show you in this video just now, taken from a day where I've been outdoors, I've been inside, I've been next to central heating, I've been out in the weather, you know, I've been exposing myself to the elements. I was wearing the exact same skincare as in this video, and I applied the foundation in the exact same way as in this video. So it's going to be a representative wear test of this foundation. Starting with 30 minutes after I applied the Wayne Goss Luxury Cream Foundation, this is how my skin was looking. Smooth and poreless, but with my leavings a tiny bit visible. I was wearing my vision glasses on the wear test day. I am removing the glasses on most footage so that you can better see my face and the skin around that area of the face. So keep in mind that I will have glass marks under my eyes and around my nose. As you can tell, the skin was already looking shiny, but it was a warmer day than usual. So I'm taking you with me on a beautiful trip I did. Here I am after 4 hours of wearing the foundation in the sun, natural light. This is the harshest light when it comes to makeup, so all flaws will be emphasized. Skin looks beautiful, but with a few wishes under the eye area where my glasses also sat and rubbed the product around. This is pretty common with most foundations. A bit settled in my 11s, but nothing a quick dab wouldn't fix. I think it was more prominent than usual because it was very sunny and I frowned a lot. Still looking poreless and smooth, and the fine lines on my forehead look really good. However, it looked pretty shiny already. I did not touch up at all for this footage. Another gorgeous place. It was about 18 Celsius degrees outside with strong wind. This is 6 hours after applying the foundation. Again, in the sun, natural light. No touch-ups at this point. Under the eyes looked the worst, especially where the glasses sat. Definitely not the most flattering. Other than that, it's pretty good, still smooth, poreless and beautiful. Forehead around my mouth, still looking good. You can see that my skin was shiny, but I quite liked it. Much better than when my skin looks very dry. Continuing our day, getting a little cooler, down to 9 degrees now. 8 hours since applying this foundation, looking really shiny as you can tell in this picture before I removed the shine a little. What I did before this picture is give a quick swipe under the eyes to reblend the area where my glasses sat and left marks. I always reblend the area around my eyes with all foundations when I take my glasses off. However, things are still looking good, smooth, and my forehead is looking good. Pimples are shining through more, so the coverage dissipated a little. The area around my mouth is still looking good, which is always the biggest challenge when it comes to foundations. So even though it is looking shiny, the very dry area around my mouth is still well blended without falling apart. This foundation is really good at not separating on the skin and at being super easy to reblend or touch up. I have to say that when I checked myself in the mirror at this 8-hour point, I thought I looked good and fresh. Finishing up the trip with an amazing sunset. This is 13 hours after applying the foundation. This is the first wear test footage in artificial light, as the sun had set by then. Artificial light always makes the skin look more flattering and flat, so reducing texture. I touched up the marks from the glasses around my nose and under my eyes again, and I gently blotted my nose with my hand to remove some shine, but it looks amazing on the face. I did not use any product to touch up. Still super smooth, soft. I actually love how this foundation looks on the skin after 10-12 hours. In artificial light, this looks flawless. No fine lines on the lens, no lines on forehead. This is insane. The area around the mouth shows some minor signs of dry patches now, as that is the driest area of my face, but it looks much better than other foundations I use. This wear test was representative of how the foundation wore on most days for me when used with a very dewy, glossy base shown in this video. Besides the footage I just showed you, I also want to share with you the overall wear test notes that I took in the 2 weeks I've been testing this foundation for. The first thing I have to say is that the wearability of this product, it's insane. It's just wearing incredibly beautiful on the skin. I have been wearing it on some days for 15 hours. So I wanted to make sure that if you have a full-time job and you want to wear this foundation to work, and then you want to go out after work and you want to ensure that this foundation still looks gorgeous on your skin for that amount of time, I wanted to let you know that yes, it looks absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't set into fine lines. It doesn't overemphasize dry patches. It doesn't really do anything that it's visible with the bare naked eye from like a normal distance that someone would kind of talk to you or whatever. What I do have to say is that this product is a shiny, greasy, very dewy sort of finish product, especially if you use the sort of skincare that I have. So I have dry skin and this still happened to me. So I can only imagine that if you have normal to combination and even oily skin, you will have to dab the skin quite a bit and, you know, keep that shine under control. Personally, I prefer my skin to look shiny and not have separation of the product around my drier areas than the product to be just kind of like not shiny on my skin, but to separate in all my fine lines, to kind of fall apart on my dry patches. The main problem area I have is this area around my mouth, and this foundation wears really well. I did notice that the more powder I used, the more this problematic area would look worse throughout the day. So personally, I only like to powder exactly how I showed you in the application section of this video. So just under my eyes, around my nose, and a little bit of my forehead. I like to leave this area clean, or the most I do is just pat just the top of my chin with some powder. But again, the powder I use, it's a luminous one, it's not a mattifying one. Now, what I believe that Wayne Goss was trying to do when he released the powder in this complexion line was that basically if you have dry skin like I do, this foundation is okay on its own. If you have oilier skin, you will need powder with it. So I think that, you know, I didn't purchase the powder because I knew I was not going to use it. But if you have an oilier skin, then I suppose that together with the Wayne Goss new powder, you will be able to keep it under control. But generally speaking, this foundation wears the best out of the foundations I had throughout the years. It looks just gorgeous. And what I wanted to say is that I did touch up a little bit. Like, I like to touch it up a little bit throughout the day. I didn't use product to touch it up, so what I like to do is just with my clean hand, I just very gently rub my finger on top of it to kind of take away some of the extra shine, to just kind of reblend it. So if I have any issues with it, like around this area where my skin is the most dry, I just gently pat it with my finger and it takes all of those flaws away, which again, they're barely visible. So I really like this, that I don't need extra product. I don't need anything in particular. I just use my finger and I just gently dab my skin and it works, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, I know that Wayne mentioned that you can use this pouch from the puff to put powder on your puff. I personally only did that once because I don't really like powder on my skin. It's just something that I'm not the biggest fan of, so I didn't really do that, but if you have oilier skin, you could certainly do that. The other thing I want to mention, and again, I'm just looking at my notes, is that as the hours pass by, the blurring filter-like smoothing effect that this foundation does to your pores and fine lines does disappear throughout the day. So the shinier your skin gets, the less that effect will be. But overall, the product still looks beautiful on the skin. And what I like about it is that your skin still looks beautified even after 12 hours of wear. So you know, you're not just getting the coverage, you're also getting a beautifying effect to the skin. Not as gorgeous as at the beginning of the day, but it's still there. Now, in terms of the various application techniques of this foundation, I do have to say that to ensure that that blurring smoothing effect stays on the skin for as long as possible, the puff is the best application tool. You know, when I applied it with a brush, the effect was certainly not that visible, and that blurring smoothing effect disappears from the skin pretty fast. With the sponge, it stays on the skin for a little bit longer, but again, it's not the same. Fingers, just same story. So in terms of ingredients, I wrote a full article on my blog, www.lipstick.cafe. I explain what every ingredient is in this foundation, what do they do, what are they there for. I also tell you what this formula means, so what's the base of the product, because I feel like when it comes to a product like a foundation, just watching other reviews from other people is not going to be enough. Like, you have to know what's in the foundation, what's the base of it. Like, will it be suitable for your skin? Will it irritate your skin? Does it have allergens? Does it have irritants? Is it very emollient? You know, it's all those complex things about ingredients that I feel like they're very crucial into understanding how a product actually works. I also tell you how this foundation achieves this poreless filter-like effect on the skin. I think it's a very interesting article, and it was written to work in conjunction with this video review, so please make sure you visit my blog and that you read it after you finish this video. And now we finally reached the final stage of this video, which is the overall thoughts. I think I was pretty thorough in terms of telling you pretty much everything that is to be said about this product, but I will try to compile a few sentences together to kind of give you my overall thoughts about it. So after 2 weeks, I think that the Wayne Goss Luxury Cream Foundation is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous product. It has some unique qualities such as the filter-like effect on the skin, the blurring and smoothing of pores. It's just giving a very beautiful effect on the skin. And actually, I know that Wayne Goss said that his main aim with this foundation was to offer the best skin that you can have, and I genuinely think that he managed to do that. This foundation is not just covering imperfection, it's smoothing the skin, and it gives it such a beautiful, beautiful effect. I'm in love with it. The area where I'm most disappointed about is the shade range. I probably look like an orange, especially because you can't see my neck or my chest, so I'm probably just like an orange head. But you know, if he's going to release shade number 12 again, or if there's going to be a lighter shade with warm undertones, I will certainly purchase that and just kind of use this shade that's number 8 more of a bronzer for my skin, because I could do that. In terms of using it as concealer, it kind of works, but not quite in the same way that I envisioned it. I just don't think that with a dewy base under you can achieve a pretty full coverage. Again, under the eyes, sometimes a little bit, it's kind of falling apart. I mean, in the wear test footage that you saw, I was wearing glasses, like vision glasses, so I wore them all day long, so they kind of disrupted all that peace and harmony under my eyes because they kept moving around throughout the day. It is a very glowy, shiny and luminous foundation, so do keep that in mind. If you are not a fan of a finish like that, then I don't think this product is for you. It can be used in a sheer manner, in a pretty high coverage manner, so it's a very malleable, adjustable product, and I really love it for that. And a very important thing to mention actually is that even though you apply it with like a lot of layers in a very high coverage sort of way, it doesn't look like a mask, it just looks like skin. And I hope that although the shade is very orange for me, that you can tell that my face just looks like skin, you know? It's looking like... I really am so sad the shade is not my perfect one, because I think the fact that the shade is so orange kind of makes you think, oh my god, she's wearing a ton of it and it looks like a mask, but it's really not. It's really not. If you zoom in onto my face, this looks pretty good on the skin. The other thing that I absolutely love about this product is the fact that it's very hydrating. So at the end of the day, I did notice an improvement in my fine lines. I think this product works amazingly for texture skin, so if you don't have porcelain baby-like skin, then this product is for you. I think the puff is necessary for the foundation if you want the best effect that this foundation can have and to wear as beautiful for as long as possible. I do think you need to get the Wayne Goss Smooth and Set, the Poreless Beauty Puff. That's a long name. Puff, so yeah, just get the puff if you want the most flawless effect onto your skin. But yeah, this has been the entire video for the Wayne Goss Cream Foundation. A very long video if you ask me. So I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope it was useful. I do hope that it helped you to kind of make up your mind about a product, because it's not necessarily the cheapest foundation that you could get. So yeah, but as I said, if you wanna know more about the ingredients, a comparison of its price with other products on the market, if it is comedogenic, if it can aggravate your skin, all those details are in my article on lipstick.cafe, so please go ahead and read that article before you exit this video. I will put the link in the description down below directly to it so that you can easily click on it and read it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you liked it. Thank you so much if you've been watching all of it, because it was a long one. Don't forget to subscribe, to hit the thumbs up for this video if you enjoyed it, and hit the notification bell to be notified for future content I will post on my channel. And I really do hope to see you soon in my next video. Bye!